Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Stan Houston for Interesting Ideas, a radio video podcast. We're here to hopefully help you have greater insight into what's going on in life so you can live better now. Hopefully, become a person of influence so you can help make it a better world because you're a good person and you have more influence, even have more impact, that perhaps you can change things because you know how to do that. And so even though the rest of the world seems to be crazy, and it is, at least the small part of the world that you inhabit and impact is a better one. And then we want you to have a better income. And that's not just money. That's helpful. That's useful. That's vital. But that greater good things will come into your life. Who you are is what you attract, and we're trying to help ourselves be better at doing life, and we're here to help you be better at doing your life. And we're right here in the What It Takes radio studio. Of course not. This is part of the issue. You know, this is quite an impressive studio I have here. But of course, you all know that it's all fake. That's not real. It's a background that I can put in to make it look real fancy, and anybody can do that. So let's maybe try and get back to reality and actually show you what we want to talk about for today. See if I can do that. I bet I can. That's right. There I go. Now we're back. Just sitting in front of the small little studio here with my Interesting Ideas logo. On a Wednesday, I talked about Sir Edward Grey, who looked at the world as it was in August of 1914, and he had that expression, I'm afraid the lamps are going out all over Europe and we will not see them in our lifetime. You know, right now, there's a lot of light going out. I just had to watch some of the news. I just sat there because I'm trying more and more not to be actively involved in what is happening, because I can't and because it wouldn't make any difference, but just to be a little bit more observant of what's happening. And this is not a political statement. It's a statement of reality about the fact that I've got a lot of years of life and experience. And I said, what is going on? What are they doing? That doesn't make sense to anybody. That's crazy. Then, of course, Karen says, pull back, Stan. And of course, that's what I have to do. However, what I would like to do today is perhaps be helpful to me and maybe helpful to you, to actually remember some of the things that are vital. One of the persons I came across was a gentleman named Konstantin Kisin. Konstantin Kisin actually works with Jordan Peterson, who many of you have heard about. And he's got a program, a podcast, something like what I do. He does it video and audio, and it is called Triggernometry. And that's a play on the word, you know, that trigger point, trigger warning, trigger warning. I'm going to say something that might shock you or trigger you. So, and he does do just exactly that. In one of his recent programs, he brought this point up, and so perhaps I can just bring it in mind because I remember this well. I was a student of Russian history. In fact, one of the reasons I got involved in international radio many years ago was that I thought that maybe in terms of influence that I could actually be in some of the broadcast programs to Russia in the days of the Iron Curtain, when literally the only news that people in Russia could get would be from the BBC, from Voice of America, Trans World Radio, which was the organization that I joined. And I remember the whole Solzhenitsyn episode. I read all of his books and was kind of watching as eventually the Russians threw him out and he went to America. Here's what um, Constantine said just recently in an address he gave in London. He said, Alexander Solzhenitsyn once said that the strength or weakness of a society depends more on the level of its spiritual life than its level of industrialization. If a nation's spiritual energies have been exhausted, it will not be saved from collapse by the most perfect government structure or by any industrial development. Yeah, there you go. A tree rotten within the core will not stand. Well, of course, in some ways that was providential of what happened to the Soviet Union. Uh, you know, a spiritual wasteland, and even the power of the mighty Soviet army and the economic coercion could not save the country. And perhaps as a result of Margaret Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, and Pope John, the structure was there. And remember, in 1987, it all came tumbling down. Well, the problem is that unless you replace a rotten structure with something better, it grows up again. But I can't help but think that part of what we are working on or about, again, I'm very much convinced that we have to, in many ways, and I'm not saying this in any particular denominational or religious sense, but I'm simply saying it is that when a society begins to lose its spiritual bearings, something will go wrong. There's an old thing from the Hebrew scriptures that says, without a vision, people perish. Well, the translation could just as easily be this, without a vision, the people lose their way. Well, of course, if they lose their way, they may often perish. So what I would like to do to encourage us today is just to say, here we are at the change of clock time. I'm not so sure that that change of clock time is very helpful to many people anymore. But it does mean that symbolically that we're very much into, at least in the Northern Hemisphere, kind of the winter time. Obviously, the days will be longer and darker. And where are the points of light in the darkness? Where are they? There is none politically. Remember, all political solutions are illusions. It will only be that rare politician who makes other than political decisions and political policies, who does something far more and perhaps far greater and more impactful than political decisions and solutions that might, in some way, help a society to grow better. Right now, we are in difficult, challenging times. That's the deal. One of the things I'm hoping is that Interesting Ideas will be a place where not just me, I'm just an old guy with no hair and a funny face, face made for radio. But I have a little bit of wisdom, insight, and truth. But more than that, I have the ability, after maybe a half century of radio and television, to actually help people like you. I'll be very blunt. I have talked recently to 3 people who have great wisdom, and they're people of spirit and wisdom and insight. And I said, you have a message. You have something to say. You have something that's helpful and useful. Get it out there. It's easy to do with a little bit of help. And I sense reluctance and fear. Um, Someone said just recently to me that yeah, he works primarily with writers. That I have to help writers find their voice. That's voices. That's what they're really going to talk about. What is really important to them. What they uh, really love deep inside. Well, part of my job is right now is everybody should have a strong spiritual, emotional, and relational voice. You should have something to say, to offer to the clatter and the conversation and the chaos and the abundance of lies. You need to say something in some way, maybe to only one or two or three people. And that's what It Takes Radio is all about. What It Takes Radio. We're trying to help you. We can get you involved in podcasting. Perhaps even turning your podcast into a small book. I offered a friend the other day who is, as he said, terminal. He says, I can't see the waterfalls, but I can hear them. And I said, take some time now to speak some things of truth and wisdom and encouragement that'll last. Once it's on the internet, it's kind of there forever. And what I would love to do, there are so many stupid fools, both in life, leadership, and politics, who are dominating this medium with their foolishness and their craziness. At least start in your own way. You can't really stand out on the street corner anymore. That you can't do that very much. You could be homeless on the street corner and they'd leave you alone. However, if you're yelling on the street corner, they'll probably arrest you for disturbing the peace. But you do now have a way. You and maybe a few of you to put together an orchestra, maybe a symphony of sound and voices and maybe music and prayers that would make the world a little better place. I'm encouraging a particular church. They're into streaming their sermon. Yeah, great. But you know what? Maybe you should tell people not to listen to the sermon on the stream. Maybe they should actually just now get out and go to church. But there's a whole wide world out there that you could put together some of your God thoughts, wisdom, and influence and make it possible. So can I ask you to just think about that for a while this weekend? Maybe it's time for you to speak up, to share your wisdom, insight, and truth with people. I'm hoping very shortly to revive what we call the Christian Entrepreneur Network, the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. Through the COVID stuff and all the stuff that went into life and world, we had to kind of shut it down and then try to resurrect it and then try to reform it. And we just about got that process done. And so I'm resilient enough, and we're going to try and launch it again. And it could be a great opportunity for you, not only to have a voice, but perhaps to have a vocation and avocation and maybe even some compensation by helping people be world-class entrepreneurs, helping people start their own business, making their own marks with their own company, and finding the careers they love, find the ability to do what they've always wanted to do. Let me tell you, 70 to 80% of the people are not doing what they wanted to do in their life and business. They're doing what they have to do or what they fell into, and they're okay with it. But as I watched a gentleman the other day, in one of the stores. I said, you know, 50 years ago, when he was 10 years old, this is not what he wanted. This is not what he wanted. He didn't get to be what he wanted to be. Well, there's always a chance to start over. And on this Friday, flowing in to take that extra hour you have to perhaps think and pray and ask for the courage to do and say and be what you are truly called to be. Maybe this will be the best daylight savings time trick time of all. It'll be the year you remembered that you not only changed the time, you made some changes in your life that made a difference. That's what I do. I help people do it with their companies and their courses and their careers. So you reach out to me at stanhusted@gmail.com, stanhusted@gmail.com. I would love to be your coach, counselor, and your friend so that you could start to live a better life, starting right now. All the best and blessings. Till next time, both on the radio and on the television, we'll be back. Bye for now.